Hi, Sandy.
Hi, it's Dave.
Hi, it's Kirk.
Okay, so today we're doing something a little bit different on the channel. We are doing what's called the Guilty Pleasures. So we set ourselves the opportunity to discover a little bit more about each other as far as our musical tastes. And the challenge was simple. We were allowed to pick a song that we enjoy, or it can be love, it can be enjoy, but it has to be something we listen to and we enjoy the actual music video or whatever it might be. But it can't be from a hard rock or a metal genre. It could be soft rock. The soft rock is passable, but it could be any other genre apart from the standard sort of stuff that we associate with each other. So without further ado, we're going to do the first of one of our hosts' guilty pleasures. Only I know which one it is, but at the end, the other two people will give their reaction to the song, and the person whose guilty pleasure this is will explain a little bit about why it is their guilty pleasure. Let's go check out today's video.
Freestyler, rock the microphone, straight from the top of my dome. Freestyler, rock the microphone, carry on with the freestyler. I got to throw on and go on, you know I got to flow on. Select us on your radio players, cause we're friendly for ozone, but that's not us, so hold on. Tight as a rock the mic, right? Oh, excuse me, pardon, that's a synchronizer with the analyzer. Coming wipes the session, let there be a lesson question. You carry protection, now with your heart go on, like Celine Dion. Come a chameleon, yeah, straight from the top of a dome. As the rock the microphone, yeah, straight from the top of a dome. As the rock the microphone, yeah, straight from the top of a dome. As the rock the microphone, yeah, straight from the top of a dome. As the rock the microphone. Styles, kilos, we bring many kilos, so you go back yours from the burials. Ambitious, nutritious, delicious delivery, it's ambitious. Just tell us we deliver anything from acapellas to propellers. Suckers get jealous, try to soap with marshmallows. You know they can handle us like them pay us dollars. Yeah, we come scandalous, so who the fuck is seller? Ship them back in the palace. Yeah, straight from the top of a dome. As the rock the microphone. Yeah, straight from the top of a dome. As the rock the microphone. Yeah, straight from the top of a dome. As the rock the microphone. Yeah, straight from the top of a dome. As the rock the microphone. Freestyler, rock the microphone, straight from the top of my dome. Freestyler, rock the microphone, carry on with the freestyler. Yeah, straight from the top of my dome. As the rock the microphone. Yeah, straight from the top of my dome. As the rock the microphone. Yeah, straight from the top of my dome. As the rock the microphone. Yeah, straight from the top of my dome.
Okay, so there we go. That was Freestyling. Is it called Freestyling? Yes, from Bomfunk MCs. Now, for our listeners and viewers back home, which one of us do you think suggested this song as their guilty pleasure? Write it in the comments down below. You've got 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, this was Andy's choice. Andy's looking like, I'm glad he does go, oh, did I? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was me. Yeah. We'll come back to you, Andy, in a little bit to find out why you suggested this particular song. Kirk, you can kick this one off. What was your thoughts on it?
Andy, what year is this song? Which year in the 2000s?
90s, early 2000s. I don't know.
I would have said 96, 97, based on the fact he's walking around with a PlayStation 1 controller.
Although he did have an iPod, though, didn't he?
No, he had a MP3.
What was that?
That's an old style MP3 player. So yeah, 96.
Oh, okay.
That's somewhere between 96 and probably 99, I would guess, somewhere in those 3 years.
The MP3 player only became popular in the early 2000s, surely, didn't it? I mean, the reason I ask is that it's funny, in today's divided age of identity politics and cultural sensitivities, there would be so much wrong that people would identify with that. The white guy with the dreadlocks now would be seen as cultural appropriation. I think that's in the history books, isn't it? As you know, when you look at Korn and Bizkit, all these bands, and even the hardcore scene in the 90s, they had the Krishna beads, didn't they? And the dreadlocks, and they were all white people. I don't say that pejoratively, but that stood out for me. The fashion, I look at it now. Everyone's wearing baggy Adidas tracksuits. I didn't join in. I did have an Adidas tracksuit top. Musically, I like how it's got slide guitar at the beginning with that synth arpeggiator that's slowed down and then looped. Easy song to get into, isn't it? It reminds me almost like a hip hop version of that French. Well, it's not French. Sorry, what was he called? Simon Fisher. He did that project Les Rhythm Digital in 2004, which is a great album.
How do you remember it? Okay, yeah, go on.
And it reminded me like more of a hip hop version of that. Would I listen to that again? Absolutely not. I don't hate the song. I like the video, but to me, music like that, there's just nothing to it, is it? So I can understand, Andy, why you would think guilty pleasure. You know, it's just people posturing and the zeitgeist of the times. You know, the urban hip people. We all look like this, and you know, we're concerned with where's the bass in the mix, the beat, what we're doing at the weekend, which drugs are we taking? You know, how can we prove that we're listening to what's going on in the underground, you know, in the ghetto, that kind of shit. So not really for me. I wouldn't listen to that again. No interest in that type of music.
Okay, I'll kick in with this one. So Bomfunk MC's Freestyler. It's a song I have heard but hadn't really listened to more than a few times in passing. It's very much my wife's sort of music. She likes anything to do with house, dance, hip hop, R&B, that sort of stuff. So it's an interesting mix when we go out. So when we go on long car journeys, I have to mix in a load of like club classics into the metal mixes so that we have some sort of thing that she can enjoy. So it's a song I have heard. I actually quite like the track. I do find it's a little bit with dance tracks, and it's understandable. They are quite repetitive. But that's because that's what they're designed for. They're designed for the clubs. It's the beat. It's to get people moving on a dance floor. They're not there for the storytelling. Let's put it that way. I prefer what's interesting for me for the 90s, and this came out in 1999. So 90s and early 2000s. Was this under hip hop style? I'm not sure what genre it comes under. But I prefer that to what's coming out now. There seems to be a big kind of thing about lyrics have to be very offensive nowadays. Maybe I'm just sounding like a grumpy old git right now, but people are putting things about having sex with people's mums, and I'm going to do stuff all over her face. And literally someone posted a picture, like a video of the latest song that's out, and people were like, yeah, this is wicked. And I'm like, why? Why do you have to do that? This felt like rock the MC, rock the mic, dance. And I was like, actually the message what they're putting across in the song, it's great. It's keeping it simple. It's just about a positive vibe in the actual lyrics. I actually was watching the video more to see what techniques they employed to do some of the stop frames. So I was like, that's a mask effect where they've actually the reason why they kept pausing in different sections of the screen was what they did was they filmed it in the same location and then they just put a mask on. So they were only using part of the different shot. That's why they could stop and start each one at random. But then in other ones, you can see when they were using green screen or backdrops there, where like with the women dancing, you can actually see a slight outline for where they were using, and also the lighting effect they use is not consistent with across all three of them. So if you look at where the source lighting should be in the actual video, it's not the way it's reflected on their body. So I was like, well, so I got very into like the video editing side of it. Which, considering that's now 23 years old, it's quite impressive what they were doing. Considering nowadays that was probably the biggest studio. Nowadays you could do that on a home PC. But yeah, the track for me it was 5-something minutes long. I could have done with that being about 3.5 minutes. I think when it kind of looped back in, I was getting a bit like, okay, I'm done with that now. But I like the track as a whole, and they also employ quite a lot of what we talk about in rock and metal music, where we do like the drop. Where we put our drops in to kind of give the audience a chance and then boost it back up. Dance music does that all the time in almost every single song. They always have a bit where everything drops back out again, and they usually just go back to a very simple loop, and then they just let everything kick back in, and the drop hits, and then the whole crowd just dances again. And I have been guilty of being in nightclubs and having this sort of music on and being a tit dancing around with friends. And back in the day, back in my 20s, definitely couldn't do it now. But I actually like the track, so I understand why it'd be a guilty pleasure. Go on then, Andy. Explain yourself.
That's all my credibility gone now, and I think I might be leaving this project after this. I'm not a huge dance, R&B, hip hop fan, whatever you want to call this, but you know that period, David, you mentioned was like the height of it, and it's probably so much better than what's coming out nowadays. But you know, that sort of time in my life, I was in a job where Kiss radio seemed to be on constantly in the house. There was you know, the video channels where you requested, you know, you sent in a 3-digit code for a text and paid 50p, and your video may or may not come. You know, during those days.
Bots.
So from the bots, that was it. So from that period of time, there are a few, you know, club classics, as you call them, that I own on CD, which really struck a chord with me. The sort of like the harder sort of dance type tracks, the ones that have got some really nice female vocalists, I've got as well, and this one as well. You say about it being too long. I'm more familiar with the sort of 3.5-minute version that was on the music channel. They have sort of done a video edit of that where they've cut it down and taken out certain sections of the song. So that's like, I'm not so familiar with that as I am as the shorter version. I mean, as a song on its own, I probably wouldn't be quite such a fan of it, but I tied with the video. I really, really like this track. What they're doing, the guy walking through the station, and he's got this MP3 player which controls, you know, the people around him. I thought was a really good idea, and it's just funny. The girls dancing. I mean, that's not how you dance the dance music, is it? That was, I don't know what that was. And the guy with the PlayStation controller, what was he doing? Then he walks off with his fingernail. It's just sort of,
it is random.
He gets frozen. These are sort of images that stuck me from 20 plus years ago, and I just like the song. And tied in with a really entertaining video as well. But I'm you know, no way a huge fan of this genre. There's just a few sort of club classics and a few dance anthems for that period that I really like. So this is a guilty pleasure.
Wouldn't you know, we talk about genre, people, because I mean I'm not really qualified to say what genre it is. I'm going to guess that this would come under what's called electro, which has elements of electronic and hip hop in there, because when you listen to it, I mean, Dave, you'll have owned a synthesizer in the past, am I correct?
Yeah.
Same here. Yeah. But you know, when you're going through all the programs on the bass sound, they're using that one that's called square bass, aren't they? Which is which is synonymous with the late 90s, early 2000s. So to me, it's kind of like an electro revivalism, because you have got rapping in there, really, haven't you?
We've got rap. There's also elements of sort of drum and bass vibes and certain points coming in there. It's the problem is it's like metal. If you were to ask a non-metal fan to describe a metal song and what genre it comes in, they would have no clue. They're like, it's metal. It's
heavy metal,
and they would
That's
just
what
start.
We're like now, aren't we? We don't really know.
It's like we would talk about symphonic. We'd talk like, I've heard people go listen to Nightwish, which is basically symphonic metal, and they go, that's thrash metal, isn't it? And I'm like, that's so far away from thrash metal that you have no clue what you're on about, you know. But I get it, because they're not part of that genre, and we're not part of this sort of genre of music. So for us, it's kind of, we're just spitballing, going electro, dance, drum and
there's
bass,
so many subgenres as well.
Yeah,
you know, you think there's subgenres in metal, and you know, each genre has its subgenres. You know, I think it's the same in dance, electronic, rap, hip hop, whatever you want to term the whole umbrella as. But no, I can't pigeonhole it, and don't need to. I don't want to. It's just a track I remember from a 20 plus years ago, and just one I've always enjoyed, and don't mind hearing it any day of the week.
The only dance music for me that I listen to and really love is acid house. You know, that classic period, late 80s to early 90s. Like you, Andy, I've got one of those CDs, 3 CDs, the greatest acid house anthems, and I can put that on, and I just love it because it's quite sophisticated, isn't it? And suave, some of that. The beats are a bit slower, more intimate, and you always get female vocals on there. And that squelch bass, that's what's distinctive about acid house. But like Ibiza trance anthems and shit like that, I would rather fucking kill myself than listen to that music. I fucking because when I was at high school, that's what everyone listened to. All the, you know, we didn't have the word chav then; they were called townies, weren't they? And everyone listened to that, and happy hardcore. It just put me off. It's like, well, I'm never going to listen to this shit music. So maybe I'm being harsh because of the times that I remember it from. But yeah, that wasn't a bad song. Great video, that. It's worth it just for the video, isn't it?
True. Well, that was Bomfunk MCs, and the track was Freestyler. Now, if you like this video, please do like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you on another video sometime very soon. Take care.